name for you.
What's going on, man? Welcome back to the Underestimated Podcast. It's your host, Jeremy. I'm back with another episode. And today I want to um, tap into the team that is known as America's favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, but more specifically their quarterback situation. Um, but before I get into that, it is Tuesday. I'm back with another episode. This is episode 18. And like I initially intended a couple of months ago, the schedule that I did work out now with the intent to both balance out school, because I know I'm in college now, and getting out consistent episodes for y'all has finally been able to be put in place correctly. So now I can both put out episodes for y'all and maintain school without there being any implications of both. So you all should be expecting episodes from me every now Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Initially it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but now it's going to be Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But yeah, so obviously, the Dallas Cowboys turned a bunch of heads, including my own, a couple of months ago when they traded for Trey Lance from their kind of kryptonite of a team in the San Francisco 49ers. After most believed that Trey Lance just was not the answer in San Francisco anymore. Me personally, I don't think that's the case. Um, it's no secret that Kyle Shanahan is the best. I'm not going to say overall coach, but play caller in all of the NFL, and I think his play call scheme involves players with an extreme amount of mobility. And not saying that. Well, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo was mobile at all whatsoever, or little to none. Brock Purdy is somewhat mobile, but I think we all know the ability that Trey Lance possesses with his legs. So I didn't really understand the Trey Lance move to San Fran. Oh, sorry, to Dallas, not San Fran. But this is my thing. I still believe that Trey Lance can still be a starting quarterback one in this league. Now we also know that a lot of people don't know what the Dallas Cowboys plans are with Dak Prescott. They have a cap situation where they could be in some deep complications if they really, with either way they go, whether they trade, I'm sorry, not trade him, but whether they re-sign him to a new deal or they go ahead and trade him. Yeah, that's what I actually did mean to say. So my thing with Dak Prescott is I believe Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback, all things considered. Dak is just simply not the same player when the playoffs come around. And for a franchise that is as historic and monumental as the Dallas Cowboys, you cannot have a quarterback that possesses that kind of tendency. Dak has to be the same Dak, not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. And you just have simply not gotten that from him since he was drafted a couple of years ago. I think you can. I honestly don't know what it's going to take for the Dallas Cowboys to really um, raise the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season in February, January ish. I honestly don't know because the defense is great. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Stephon Gilmore, Trayvon Diggs, um, Leighton Van Der Esch. They have a great defense. But when you put the ball back in Dak Prescott's hands, it's just he's not really able to move the ball downfield. Tony Pollard seems to be a bit off, but I can't really put it all on Dak because aside from CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys haven't really gotten the play from their other skill positions, including guys like Michael Gallup. And they let go of Dalton Schultz. I thought that was very peculiar. I don't think that was very smart of them to do. But the tight end position has kind of expanded nowadays, and they can still go pick up someone that's pretty good. And especially in a draft where Brock Bowers from Georgia is coming up. So maybe make some moves and go pick up Brock Bowers. But that's just a wild remark though. The thing is with Dak, I think if you trade Dak, then it's like where do you trade him to? And then what is your plan afterwards? Now, if you look at the draft with a quarterback carousel of a great amount of quarterbacks, including guys like obviously Caleb Williams, Drake May, Sam Hartman, Bo Nix. If he does decide to come out, Shador Sanders. I mean, it's a great carousel of quarterbacks that can come out of this draft. But I don't think that those guys will come in and be better than Dak Prescott. That's kind of a long shot to say. Obviously, simply because they haven't played a lick of professional football. But obviously, that Caleb Williams would give you the best shot to make that a possibility. But could Caleb Williams come into Dallas and run the offense like Dak Prescott has, who's been in there for, I think this is Dak's sixth or seventh season, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Um, I did see some report. I'm not sure if it was from a legit source because it came from Instagram, but it was a report saying that Caleb Williams was asked a question about his maybe desired teams to go be drafted to because he kind of has, the ball in his court or the football in his field as opposed to where he would like to play. He was saying that I think the Cardinals were to end up with the first overall pick, that he would probably not choose to come out this year and would rather come out next year. And he did give out a list. I think it was like a list of 5, 6, 7 teams, and Dallas was on that list. I think it was like Dallas, the Raiders, maybe Minnesota. I'm not. I know Dallas was on there for sure. I don't know about the other 4 or 5, 6 teams that was on there, but I know Dallas was on that list for sure. I don't know though. But I more specifically want to touch on Trey Lance. I think if you're the Dallas Cowboys, if you're Jerry Jones, and the rest of the management up there, I think you just go ahead and run with Dak Prescott, and you just despite the spanking that the San Francisco 49ers gave to the Dallas Cowboys last Sunday in a Sunday night football game against them, where they won 42-10, Jerry Jones still came out and said that he still believes that Dak Prescott is the quarterback to get them Super Bowl, and he still firmly believes that. And that loss, regardless of how bad it was and how bad that he played, does not change his position on Dak Prescott as that team franchise quarterback. So with me saying that, or with him saying that, I think it's better that you go ahead and move Trey Lance. I don't think Trey Lance. I'm saying he can't learn from Dak because he most definitely can. But Trey Lance needs to be playing somewhere. There's a lot of teams that guys are, slowly losing their quarterback one jobs, and Trey Lance could come in and actually make an impact. So I found this website on the internet called fanspo.com where it's like an NFL trade machine that's actually legit with actual cap room, picks, contracts, all that, etc. To actually make real deal trades, and it'll tell you if the trade is pretty much accurate and valid enough to go through. But before I do that, let's jump into some stats because, stats don't lie, numbers don't lie. So now in 2 seasons played, well, this being the third season, but 2 seasons actually playing, he's played 8 games, started 4 of those games, and his record as a starter is 2-2. He's completed 56 passes for about 102 attempts, making him have a completion percentage of 55% over the course of his career, with roughly about 800 passing yards, 8 yards a completion, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions, with a passer rating of 85, and rushing over the course of his career has put him at about 200 rushing yards, about 4 yards a carry, 1 touchdown. It's been sacked only 6 times, fumbled only once. So, I mean, you look at it, roughly he hasn't been a horrible in his little bit of time playing. I still believe in him, though. I think Trey Lance has the skills and the mechanics to be a great quarterback in this league. So this is what I think. I put together 3 trades with the Fanspo trade machine generator, and I'm going to give my reasoning for every trade and both sides of it. So the first trade would be sending Trey Lance to the Tennessee Titans. The trade I put together was Trey Lance to the Titans for Ryan Tannehill. Dallas would be sending Trey Lance and a 2025 fourth round pick to the Titans for Ryan Tannehill, a 2024 second round pick, and 2025 third round pick. Now, mind you, when Trey Lance was traded to the Dallas Cowboys from the San Francisco 49ers, he was only traded for a 6th round pick. And being brutally honest, despite his injuries and his, to some people, lackluster play in the NFL, I thought he played pretty well from my point of view. I think Trey Lance is worth more than a 6th round pick. You should be able to get more out of Trey Lance than a 6th round pick. But when you want someone out of an organization, sometimes you just take what you can get, but the first thing that comes to mind, and then you just get him out of there. I say this because you look at Tennessee. The Tennessee Titans currently have a record of 2-3, which places them 3rd in the AFC South. Now we all know that, despite the fact that Ryan Tannehill is about what? Okay, 6'4", 217. He's not your typical average rushing quarterback. He's just not. His mobility is just simply, non-existent, really. Well, I can't really say that. He's had a couple of 200 rushing yard years. Um, but in the past two seasons, he's only had 98 and 40 yards rushing in about 17 games out of what, 30, is that 34? But Ryan Tannehill's not 35. He's 35 years old. And if I am Tennessee, I go ahead and move on. I think you have a running or rushing tandem of Trey Lance and Derrick Henry behind center in your backfield. You're pretty much set up for success. Now, it would be a bit puzzling because of the fact that that quarterback room would consist of three quarterbacks who kind of have um, pretty much all rookies. You have Malik Willis, who got some time last year to start a couple of games. You also have Will Levis, who you took this year in the NFL draft out of Kentucky, who played extremely well last season at Kentucky. And then now you bring in Trey Lance. But I think all things considered, though, with those three in consideration, you would say that Trey Lance would give you the best chance to win. Ryan Tannehill, I believe, gets a lot of discredit. I think he's still a great quarterback in this league, but not at QB1. I think he is someone who has now worked himself into a legitimate quarterback 2 or 3. Probably in his case, preferably 2. Kind of like a guy where if you have like your franchise starting quarterback at the moment, and he unfortunately goes down with some sort of injury, and then Ryan Tannehill comes in behind him, and you can kind of still be at ease and not losing your sleep at night. That is the kind of player that I believe Ryan Tannehill is now, and the Tennessee Titans have to go ahead and realize that as well. This season alone, Ryan Tannehill has played all 5 games. Obviously, have a record of 2-3. Has a completion percentage of 63%, 1,052 passing yards, about 7 yards a completion, 2 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions in only 5 games. Meaning that I'm sure it's not that way exactly, but that would put him at a ratio of about a pick a game, which is not your typical recipe for success if you are constructing or coordinating an offense. So I think you go ahead and get Trey Lance. It might take a couple of years, but I think when you have like Robert Woods is over there, he's the only guy I can think about that's over there. You're probably gonna need more receivers. It's not just gonna be able to be Trey Lance and Derrick Henry that's gonna get it done. You're gonna need more receivers. And when I immediately think of that, I think about Marvin Harrison Jr., who is obviously not the running back, the wide receiver that everybody's gunning after in this upcoming draft. But he's a top 5 pick, I'm almost certain, and most definitely a top 10. So they have to make some other moves as well toward themselves into contention of actually picking him up. But let me actually go retrieve the receiving core because I do not remember for the life of me what it consists of. Oh my goodness, y'all. I mentioned Robert Woods' name before I mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. And Robert Woods is not even a part of the Titans anymore. That's just how lackluster I know the Titans' receiving core to be. But now, since I made that mistake. Let's find out where Robert Woods is. Oh, Robert Woods is on the Texans, not the Titans, right? Yeah, because he's CJ Stroud's is new wide receiver one. But no, well, no, actually, it's probably Tank Dell. Anywho, we're talking about the off topic, but their receiver core consists of DeAndre Hopkins, Traylon Burks, and Nick Westbrook. Icon, Ikeen. I'm sorry if I messed that up. But also with guys like Chris Moore, Kyle Phillips. Now I think you need a little bit more than that. Even though, despite how great of a receiver DeAndre Hopkins is, I think if you have Trey Lance throwing him the ball, that's great for him. But let's look at some potential guys that can be picked up as wide receivers for them this year in the draft. So, like I mentioned earlier, you got Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. That would be who you would go after first. Let's go down here. So I see Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from also Ohio State. Someone who I don't know much about, so I'm not gonna make any comments on. I'm trying to see if I can come down here and see a name that I know. I'm looking at mock drafts, by the way. So Xavier Worthy, a wide receiver out of Texas. He's projected to go number 20. Okay, I know this guy right here. Yeah, this is it right here. They got him going 23 to Cincinnati, and this is by the Giraffe Network. Not a source I've heard much of before, but this is here for us, so we're using it. Keon Coleman, y'all, a wide receiver out of Florida State, multi-sport athlete, a guy I've known about since he was in high school. Now, if they got him going 23. I believe they could possibly work their way into the 23rd overall pick in this draft if he's going to be that low and pick Keon Coleman up. You put Keon Coleman on the other side in the slot with DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm to be honest, I don't believe Traylon Burks is no scrub either. That might really elevate your offense. But let's go down and look some more and see if I notice anybody else. Malik Neighbors, wide receiver from LSU. I can't say I know who that is either. Rome Odunze, wide receiver from Washington. I'm assuming that's probably Michael Penix's wide receiver over there. So that's I think I named about 5 or 6 guys that you can go up and get to elevate that offense. Mike Vrabel's a great coach. I think that's good. I think Trey Lance to the Titans is not a bad move at all whatsoever. You go pick up another receiver for him to be able to throw to in the draft with those 5, 6 names I just named. If I were them, I go get Keon Coleman. That's the one that kind of caught my eye. That seems the most logical. I think you have to give up a boatload of talent, both present and future, to get a draft spot that would put you in contention to get Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think that to be that high. And that's not a knock on Keon, but I think that's just the way the rest of the draft is constructed. To be crazy high to draft him. If he's going to actually end up falling in the 20s, I believe you can work your way up to get a 20th overall draft pick in the draft. So let's go ahead and jump into the second deal I have worked out. Now this is a team who has a bunch going on and desperately need a quarterback. So I know for a fact he'll come in here and start immediately. The Washington Commanders. I think this is so great. because he's going to start immediately. He will definitely, no offense to Sam Howell. Sam Howell is still a great quarterback, all things considered. But I truly believe if he has to be in a quarterback battle for the number one spot with Trey Lance, is not going to work out great for him. So the deal I have constructed, it was really hard for me to make this deal because I didn't really know what exactly to do, or like, cause I kind of wanted it to be player for player. I didn't want it to be. I don't. If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe any players other than Trey Lance were involved in the deal when he got shipped to Dallas. But let me backtrack on that and make sure that I'm right. All right, so here below are the full details of the Trey Lance trade between the 49ers and Cowboys. Trey Lance trade details consist of the Cowboys getting quarterback Trey Lance and the 49ers getting a 2024 fourth round pick. The 49ers swapping Lance for a mid round draft pick in 2024. Okay. So my apologies. He was actually traded for a fourth rounder, not a sixth rounder. So the trade I have, well, I was just basically going back on that to say that there wasn't any extra players involved. I didn't want to do that again to the Commanders because I don't think that would. Well, actually, I probably could have done that because I mean the Commanders are going to be bad for a longer extensive time of period of time. But I still think that it's going to be more than that. I think the Cowboys will need a little bit of a help somewhere on that field to give them an extra leg up and be more successful. So the trade I constructed was the Commanders would get Trey Lance and 2024 third round pick from the Cowboys, and the Cowboys would get wide receiver Curtis Samuel and tackle Cornelius Lucas. Dallas and Dak Prescott gets another target on the offensive side of the ball and help on their O-line. Because as we saw with San Fran, well, I mean, San Fran will do that to a lot of teams this year, but that O-line wasn't really messing with the D-line for San Fran. But it's really on both lines, really, because if y'all saw, like, how that's probably the only time I've seen Micah Parsons get, like, matched up to his equality of play when he had to go up against Trent Williams. Now, I don't know why Dan Quinn thought it would be smart to put Micah on the left side. Put Micah on the right side so he can go attack Brock Purdy from the right side. If he's coming up that left side, it's not going to be very easy for him to get past multiple time Pro Bowler and, to be honest, future Hall of Famer and Trent Williams. So that's not a mistake on Micah Parsons. That's a mistake on Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. But yeah, I really love this trade for the Commander. They finally get their QB1 that they've been waiting for so long. They've had Taylor Heinicke. They had Taylor Heinicke before, and then now you got Sam Howell, who let's just kind of go over that for a second. So the Commanders currently sit at, going into week 6, 2-3, which puts them third in the NFC East. So I think if you go 2-3, well, let's look at where the 2-3 has came from. So they won week 1, 20-16 against the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, that was with Joshua Dobbs at the helm, but Joshua Dobbs also beat the Cowboys, so can't say he's that horrible. Then they proceeded to go 2-0 the next week after beating the Broncos 35-33. And then now they have gone on a 3 game losing streak since then, losing to the Buffalo Bills and a lopsided loss 37-3. Then the Eagles 34-31, which actually they could have won that game. The Eagles kind of let that game slip away. Well, I mean, almost slip away because they won the game still, but that game shouldn't have been. It's the Eagles, y'all. It shouldn't have been a field goal between them and the Washington Commanders. Okay, then you have the most recent game from last Sunday where they lost to the Chicago Bears 40-20, where Justin Fields had that great game. And I think that's the game where DJ Moore went for 3 touchdowns. Had a crazy fantasy point total until Jamar Chase came along and kind of crushed his dreams. So now their next 5 games consist of the Giants, the Eagles again, the Patriots, Seahawks, and then Giants again. They could potentially. I really like Terry McLaurin, so I think the Terry McLaurin Trey Lance 1-2 punch is going to be sensational, and they have in my opinion, a very underrated running back tandem with Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson Jr. Those two together complement each other really well in that backfield. And then you bring Trey Lance into the equation, like I said, that just really boosts your run game to a crazy extent. But looking at these next 5 games, they could potentially maybe win 2 out of these 5. The Falcons are really good this season, so they might give them a run for their money. That might be a loss for them. The Giants seem to be on a downhill spiral, so they can probably go in New York and get that win. I don't see them beating the Eagles. And with it being that close last time, I don't believe the Eagles are going to play with them at all this time. They're probably going to really make that a lopsided victory this time for them. The Patriots are also on the downhill spiral, so they could potentially go into Gillette Stadium and get themselves a win against Belichick and the Patriots. And then my beloved Seahawks, I don't believe that they're going to come in and beat us. Not being biased at all, but I don't see them coming in there and beating us. And hopefully by that time we'll have Jamal Adams back. So, but yeah, if you go 2-3 with Sam Howell, imagine what you do with Trey Lance. Like I really personally have that much belief and confidence in Trey Lance. So this season, looking at Sam Howell's performance, he has a now 69% completion percentage with 1,349 passing yards with about 7 yards, a completion, 6 touchdowns, and also 6 interceptions. Pretty much with a touchdown to interception ratio of 1-1. Which means like he bounces off of it, he'll throw 1 touchdown and throw a pick right after, but that's not exactly what he does out, of course. And a passer rating of 86. That looks pretty nice. I think Trey Lance can come in there and do better though. They have a pretty nice quarterback room as well though. Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett, and Jake Fromm. Nice to add Trey Lance to that. Wouldn't you think so? And like I really like Terry McLaurin, y'all. But they need some help too, because I think let's look at their offensive core as well. So you would add Trey Lance, obviously with only losing a tackle. Actually, the backup tackle. They got Logan Thomas, who's actually a pretty decent receiver. You would lose Curtis Samuel, but you still got Jahan Dotson, who's actually pretty good. And then you also have Jameson Crowder. So you would have a potential receiving core. I'm gonna add the tight end into that as well, though. A receiving core of Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Jameson Crowder, and Logan Thomas. But they're projected to have a really high pick. Let's see. Let me go back to that. To that. What was it? That mock draft and see where the Commanders are set to have that pick at. I don't remember where it was. Okay, so they are projected to have the number 11 pick. That can definitely get you a receiver. And according to this mock draft, let's see where Brock Bowers is projected to go. Because I can tell you right now, it's not 11. 11, they have them getting a tackle, Patrick Paul from Houston. Where is Brock Bowers at? 17, Tampa Bay. They can go get Brock Bowers, and that would, oh my goodness, a receiving core or offensive core of Trey Lance, Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. I just read the names. Go back, it's right here in my face. Jahan Dotson, Jameson Crowder, and now you bring in Brock Bowers. That's nice. That's pretty nice. So I mean, hey, if the Washington Commanders, want to call me up and give me the GM job and want me to revamp their franchise, and I most definitely will do that. I have no problem in doing that, but nah. I think that would be a great thing for them to do. Go ahead and get Trey Lance, along with go ahead and picking up Brock Bowers. But I have been actually, I got all kind of apps on my phone like Bleacher Report, ESPN, and I've been seeing a lot of wide receivers say that they might be getting traded. I've seen McCole Hardman maybe on the move soon. I've seen Van Jefferson be on the move soon. So the Commanders better pick up the phone, man. Better pick up the phone and kind of work them like I got my mind worked. But nah, but we're going to go ahead and jump to this last trade and then get y'all up out of here. So now this is the thing. I've never been a Kirk Cousins hater, but I've never been like a Kirk Cousins lover as well. But I watched this great film documentary on Netflix. I would definitely recommend. 10 out of 10, 5-star series called Quarterback, where it kind of takes you through the lives and the behind the scenes of three quarterbacks. Those three being Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. It was actually a great film, but I don't know, for some reason after watching that film, that series, that docu-series, I grew a different kind of love for Kirk Cousins. But obviously, y'all hear me mentioning that name a lot, so y'all can kind of already guess where this third trade is headed. Trey Lance to the Vikings. Trey Lance to the Minnesota Vikings, his hometown team. You don't know, he's from Marshall, Minnesota. School at Marshall High School. But I kind of wish I did do it, but I'm kind of glad I didn't do it as well. I don't have Trey Lance a part of. Kirk Cousins a part of the deal. I think whether he gets traded or not, he can still be a backup. That's kind of where he lands now. Kirk Cousins is not a bad quarterback. If he were to somehow work his way into a return back into Washington and go be the Commanders quarterback. I won't be mad at that. I won't be mad at that if I'm a Washington Commanders fan. Just just saying, just throwing it out there. So hear me out. This is the trade I have constructed, y'all. This may turn up a few heads, but I got to stand on it. So the Vikings will receive Trey Lance, a 2024 second round pick. Well, 2024 second and third round picks, and also a 2025 second round pick, sending him to the Vikings for the reception of Harrison Smith, Blake Brandel, and a 2024 fifth round pick. Now, we all know, obviously not just regarding Madden, but in retrospective, that Harrison Smith is a top safety in this league. And I'm not saying this is a trade they have to do now or in the future, but looking at, you know, the if they're not bad whatsoever. If you look at the defense of the Dallas Cowboys in totality, their secondary is the weakest part of that defense. Obviously, that D line is the best part of it. You know, with Michael Parsons at the forefront of that, they're a defensive player of the year candidate, and also MVP candidate to some people. But Harrison Smith would turn this defense into something crazy. Now, if I'm the Vikings, do I get Harrison? I mean, do I give him away? Maybe not. But we've all heard the great sayings about offensive defense. Offense wins your games, sells your tickets, but defense wins championships, all that. Let's look at a bunch of numbers here, considering this deal. All right, Jay, I have a bunch of different stuff ahead of me, in front of me now. So let's just kind of pick this apart simultaneously here. So let's read this report from ESPN staff writer Kevin Seifert, where safety Harrison Smith and the Vikings agreed to a new one-year deal. So the Minnesota Vikings and safety Harrison Smith have agreed to. Oh, this also was a report made on March 16th, 2023, 1:45 p.m. Eastern Time. The Minnesota Vikings and safety Harrison Smith have agreed to terms on a new contract that will keep the veteran defender with the team for the 2023 season. A source with direct knowledge of the situation said Thursday morning. Smith was due to receive a $15.3 million in cash for the 2023 season and count $19.1 million against the salary cap, figures that put Smith's spot on the team in jeopardy. He recently turned 34, missed 3 games last season because of 2 different injuries, and had seen the Vikings use their top pick in the 2022 draft as like a possible replacement in Georgia's Lewis Cine. Cine suffered a season-ending left leg injury as a rookie, but is on pace to make a full recovery for the 2023 season. The Vikings gave Smith permission to seek other opportunities around the league as he considered a reduced contract offer. Ultimately, the sources said Smith spurred the interest he could have encountered and decided to take the Vikings' deal in return for a 12th season with the team. In so doing, he accepted a pay cut of just under 50% to make about $8 million for the 2023 season before incentives. His return will help the Vikings transition from a veteran core to a younger group of players that general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah began to employ this offseason. The team has parted ways with four 2022 starters: linebacker Eric Kendricks, defensive tackle Dalvin Tomlinson, and cornerbacks Patrick Peterson and Cameron Dantzler, and linebackers Darius Smith. Future remains uncertain in Minnesota. Harrison Smith matched his career high with 5 interceptions last season, but his effectiveness was limited in a scheme that utilized him mostly as a deep safety. Newly hired defensive coordinator Brian Flores is likely to use him in a more nuanced role while playing to his strength as a blitzer and playmaker near the line of scrimmage. So that's basically just saying that Harrison Smith just signed a deal with the Minnesota Vikings back in March to keep him under contract for this season. Which actually, in my opinion, now that I know that, I didn't know that his contract was kind of on the brinks of being done with, which kind of helps my case a little bit more to get him on a new team. Send him to Dallas. Send him to Dallas. He can go win and be in the playoffs and really help them out because they do not have a superior safety. Let me also pull that up as well. Hold on, give me a sec. Now you look at it. So they have the current safeties that they have out there are Jaron Kearse and Donovan Wilson, who is now questionable. So now they have even more injury issues in their secondary. Donovan Wilson is questionable at the moment with. Okay, 2 days ago, Wilson went down with a right leg injury in the fourth quarter of Sunday's contest with the 49ers. Michael Gehlken, whatever, of the Dallas Morning News reports. So that gives me even more issues when probably Malik Hooker would take that spot. You also have Israel Mukuamu from South Carolina. I know him. Pretty good. Maybe you give him some play. But I'm just basically overlooking this to say that they don't have a superior safety back there. You get Harrison Smith, all pro safety, and still at the age of 34 now, still one of the best in the league. That would take your offense from great to excellent. Superior, top tier, A-lister. You know what I'm saying? So I see you go out there and get Harrison Smith. This is great. I think you would do that if I'm Dallas. Then now you look at Kirk Cousins, who in 5 games this season, well, the Minnesota Vikings are 1-4 this season, making them 3rd in the NFC North. Yeah, obviously know that this year they picked up Jordan Addison with what pick was it? Pick 24 to give Kirk Cousins another target alongside Justin Jefferson, his 1,000-yard receiver, and over the 2,000 yards. I think it was 2,000 yards at one point. But alongside him and KJ Osborne. I think you put Trey Lance with that core. They don't go 1-4 because let's look at their first 5 games. They lost to the Buccaneers 20-17. That to me, that's a wonderful game. Even though despite Baker Mayfield actually has been playing pretty well with the Buccaneers, the Eagles gave them a loss as well by about a touchdown. They lost 34-28. The Chargers gave them a loss as well, lost 28-24. The only team they've been able to beat this season was the Carolina Panthers, with number 1 pick from Alabama, Bryce Young, at the helm. And then they lost last week 27-20 to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now Justin Jefferson goes down with an injury. They put him on the PUP list, which means he's going to miss at least 4 games. With those next 4 games going to be against the Bears, who came off of a great game and have momentum going into the next week, the 49ers, the Packers, and the Falcons. But looking at it, with no Jay Jettas, they can lose all 4 of those games. And where he would have a chance to return on November 12th against the New Orleans Saints. That's a winnable game for them. They could probably go on and win that game, depending on how healthy Justin Jefferson is. And then they have the Broncos. That's a winnable game. So I would say they would potentially be. Let's see. All right, so they're 1-4 here. So 1-5, 1-6, 1-7, 1-8. They could potentially be 1-8 and then be 3-8 in that first 11-game span. That is horrible. That is horrible if you are the Minnesota Vikings. So I say you just start fresh at quarterback and you go ahead and bring in Trey Lance, and let go of Kirk Cousins and let him be your backup, and only have to refer to him in an event that Trey Lance goes down. But in those 5 games, Kirk Cousins has passed for about 1,500 passing yards with a 67 completion percentage, about 7 yards a completion, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, with a passer rating of 101.7. That is it. That is episode 18 of the Underestimated Podcast. Yo, it's Jeremy Orr. I appreciate you guys for watching, listening, whatever. And that's my take on the quarterback situation up there in Dallas. All the possible revenues and avenues that can be visited with that situation. And that's it. Y'all know, don't forget, always remember, don't underestimate, appreciate, and without further ado, gone.